of the Arabian League is. I think that Viking as well, a name that some people may be a little familiar with, coming from a split on X7 in the NLC in 2022, played as this jungler that sort of revolutionized how X7 were playing, was becoming very proactive in the early stages, and on this Sejuani with a double melee solo lanes, keep your eyes on him to make plays through the early stages.
And this is the thing that Viking has kind of always done well throughout his career, is he has been an enabling style jungler that still manages to keep his farm incredibly high and keeps up in experience. So not only is he ganking permanently, but he's also staying relevant in the game for himself, where look on the other side, Taxa is a jungler that's been playing for a long time as well, but has had a couple of struggles, at least domestically, at the very least, getting into games sometimes.
Does have his best champion, at least in my eyes. Taxa has looked the best on this Gragas through Season 13. Historically a very powerful Lee Sin player as well, and when the champion pool is reduced a little, we've seen him default back to that. But having the Gragas in this game, his casks have been genuinely teamfight altering with the way that he's able to split the entire composition in one fell swoop, one use of an ulti. You can just turn the tides of a fight in one button.
And I mean, hey, if you're looking at what Geekay have got together, you've got this Irelia that wants to dive on top of you, and the Rumble is inevitably going to end up in in melee range as well. Having a Gragas just being able to split up those team fights is going to be excellent. A little bit of trading here on the bottom side at the level 1. You can do that fairly effectively with Zeri.
It's worth mentioning as well, Rakan, classed as a melee champion, but has the highest melee base range of literally any melee character in the game. It's like 350 units, and for those unaware, it's somewhere between an Aurelia's auto-attack range and a Zaya's auto-attack range. It's that middle portion. You can try and weave in these rogue auto-attacks onto a Nautilus, for example, and try and find yourself just a slight HP advantage in that bot side. Quick note as well that Taxa is on this top side. Ward is down.
Oh, Sartorius is very, very far up. The Ruthless Predator is going to stun him, but the flash is just in time from Sartorius to get out of the way. We'll return with a little bit of fire into Taxa, but there is no backup for the Rumble for the time being.
Small little cooking there onto Taxa, but that is a very worthwhile trade on this top side, feeding into the carry Nilla status. Has no flash now on this top lane. Sartorius to take the ignite to potentially help him out in that 1 versus 1, and it means that those recalls can't be used as sparingly when you don't have teleport. You can't just take a bit of a bad base and go, I'll TP, it doesn't matter. That's just not a tool.
How has Cly ended up walking there? I'm not too sure.
I think he went through try. Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Kevo, the blue suede shoes on, able to dodge away from Decap's hook, and actually, the Nautilus is taking a lot of damage. He doesn't have a hook for a little bit. Cly could look for an engage here. The flash going to be forced out of GK's support.
Small advantages accruing on the map for Verdant. Obviously the flashless top laner, flashless support now, and it's worth saying Decap does have the Hex Flash, so engages aren't necessarily stifled, but trying to find those engagements disengagements rather, are going to be a little more difficult. Can't Hex Flash out to safety unless you've got a little bit of time pre-engagement to find it.
And I'm going to be really intrigued in this game 1 specifically, Rudu, because something that GK have shown a very strong propensity for through these EMEA Masters play-ins is picking up dragons. They pick up so many dragons in their game. They really value that soul as a win condition, but also as a way to set up and force fights. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Viking make a couple of moves towards the bottom side of the map in the next couple minutes to secure that objective. Decap going in with a much better hook this time. Still going to get knocked into the air, but Cly's really not enjoying this. The ignite
Rin kills.
It's going to take the support so low. Rin flashing forward for the first blood auto attack. Kevo has to use his flash to make sure that he's not number 2.
2 versus 2 kills. Like I said, the flash being down for the Nautilus does not matter if you're still able to find engages and you're the ones going forward. Cly and Kevo get punished for their overzealous nature down in the bot side, and it is a first blood onto the GK AD carry. Somebody that we've not particularly highlighted, this Algerian AD carry from the bot side of GK. Absolutely a late game carry if in a position to dish out damage, and getting that first blood is something that GK are going to be admiring no end.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's on Azaya, who as a pick is just so incredibly strong right now. Sartorius not enjoying that trade, and this is what the Renekton can do in the early stages, but looking across the board, the Rumble is doing fine for the time being. Decap is ganking in the mid lane into the flawless duet. Beautiful stun! Ero just about able to dash away, but it is GK making the plays.
Attacks are there to shadow, but there's no play to be had. It's the mid 2v2 between the supports and those mid laners that ultimately does go GK's way, and those early flashes burned appearing to not mean too much to Verdant right now. We've only seen one kill come down, but there's a 1,000 gold lead. That's extra than just kills. Decap's going to have Hook here if they want to find Taxa.
They are just about able to pull him back in. That looked a little bit weird. Cly only going to get one knock-up onto Viking, and yeah, Sejuani Nautilus. There's not a lot of damage there onto the Gragas just yet.
It's a lot of CC. As you mentioned, not too much damage to back it up. That's why they would have liked Giyu, just to rattle out some damage. And congratulations to Giyu, officially full build on the Irelia, has his Vampiric Scepter, so can stay in laning phase indefinitely, essentially, throughout the duration of this early laning phase. And you get to see that for that early game dragon stacking that you'd mentioned, it is, of course, GK on the ball immediately, down on that bot side, 5 minutes on the clock as the Drake spawns. It takes about a minute and a half for Viking to make his way down there, and he's already taken it down. Sejuani as well, very adept at taking these Drakes. The E passive is very good at taking down big monsters, and the Drake no exception.
A lot of damage on that, surprisingly, for a tank, right? But for GK, these first 7 minutes have hardly been action-packed, Rudu, but they've been quietly pretty decent. You've got a top lane that's doing well against a Renekton who is going to have issues as he gets later and later. You've got melee into range winning in mid lane. I don't know too much about the Aurelia Azir, but that's great. And you've got Kevo getting hooked by Decap in the bot lane, having to burn 60% of his HP before he can even get to lane.
Really good positioning from Decap and Rin once again. Just making sure that Kevo's life is always under threat. And Decap can't be too far away from level 6 here. That threat of a dive has to exist. And we don't see Viking down on this bot side. No threat for this specific wave. But once again, it is Verdant struggling across the board. Kevo's HP fairly low, and now it's GK leveraging that bot lane control into, at the very least, vision control of this bot side. They just walk through the entire river with a sweeper, know that there's nothing going on, and Decap
he's not
quite
stopping.
happy to just keep on moving. I see Herald is being started by my jungler. Let's go!
Yeah, you just gotta go. My people need me, apparently. But this is what GK do, right? They have this plan in the early game. They get these Drakes nice and early on before the Herald spawns, so Viking can then move to the top side. And Verdant, they're going to be too late to contest.
And it's just a small thing, this, but the fact that Decap on his timing was going through mid lane when minions were dying, staying around in the bot side to catch experience, it means that he hits that play at the Rift Herald at level 6. Cly is still level 4.
Yeah, that's an absolutely ridiculous gap in terms of the supports, especially when those ultimates are so key for making plays. You see Clyde's trying to do something on the map. That'd be a heck of a lot easier if he had access to quickness.
Looks like they're trying to punish on this top side for Sartorius' return to the laning phase, but he seems a little wiser.
He's not there.
I will gank mid instead. Why not?
Verdant have got a plan, but it is currently not going the way. E-roll shuffling nothing right there. Giyu able to get out of there pretty swiftly, and this is a lot of invested time. If Sartorius walks through this bush and dies, it's going to be worth for Verdant. If he doesn't die, this is a lot of invested time. Okay, they've been able to knock him up. He's going to go under that tower. Beautiful explosive cast from Taxa. Knocks him right back, and Nile gets Verdant on the board.
Now, with all of that time spent, all of that commitment from Verdant, Kevo knows. All right, well, it's time to leave. He has got Cleanse. Please just walk away and burn Cleanse, Kevo.
He's going for the 1v1. Viking, not enjoying it so much, is still going to be able to get that Herald charge, but Kevo is not stopping with these Birth Fires. Fortunately, the Zeri not quite travelling at 1,000,000 miles an hour just yet.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't know quite how far away the rest of GK were. I imagined that Rin and Decap would have been able to follow up, but Viking still has that ultimate. Good flash from Taxa.
Yeah, Decap is not going to stop, though. GK are absolutely relentless with this pressure. They know that Kevo is going to be so hard-pressed to respond, and they just force Taxa away.
And Erol has no ultimate as well. It's worth looking at these CS numbers through the mid lane because the Azir has they've been largely left on their own in this mid lane, if I'm not mistaken. A couple roams between both supports that were matched, but there's a 30 CS gap between the 8 mid laners right now. Giyu is living up to that reputation. Off air, Middlecott, you were saying that Giyu has been how GK have been as a litmus test, right? If Giyu is absolutely smurfing, GK look incredible. If Giyu is throwing games, then obviously GK don't look quite as good. But this game starting out very, very strong.
But I tell you what, it's a different sort of incredible. It's not been very, very fast-paced. This definitely feels like a Verdant game, right? 2 kills, 11 minutes in. But it is GK that have had the vast majority of the wins in terms of the laning phase and are finding themselves ahead.
We haven't yet seen the Aurelia explode in a team fight, but you know that as soon as that Blade of the Ruin King is finished, the side lane pressure as well really does increase quite significantly. And when you get to push Rin into the mid lane as well, that's the timer where GK are going to start to making a lot of moves on the map.
So I'm pretty sure Erol saw Decap place that ward just sort of north of Top River, which would have been spotted out. So the whole time that the Nautilus was there, Erol had a little bit of an inkling, but he still can't really do anything with that information because Verdant aren't in place to make plays themselves when they see members of GK on map.
We have seen that pivot a little bit from Verdant as well, where that top side of the rift has started to go in their favour. Nyla now level 10 versus the level 8 of Sartorius. Taxa here to try and punish the Rumble once again, but Equalizer cools the wave. It means Nyla's only going to get the 1 plate as opposed to the potential 2 that he could have got on the flip side. There's a Drake going down on this bot side. GK living true to the identity of find an early game soul. It's going to be a mountain for them. They've got a Sejuani, they've got a Nautilus. Those engage tools getting even stronger if a mountain soul goes their way.
Yeah, and it would do at 22 minutes if they keep up this breakneck pace, which is going to be very unpleasant. This is going to be quite unpleasant for the members of Verdant. They recognise that the dive is being played, and they go further forward. Teleport is going to come through in response. Rin in the first kill of the engagement onto Klein. They're actually able to get one back. Okay! Verdant making things happen in response to what GK are doing. Nice attempt by Erol, but flashed away from by Viking and Giyu. Taxa still chasing, but I'm not sure Gragas is going to be able to get too much. He is going to be able to belly bop down onto Giyu. Actually deals a load of damage onto the Aurelia, who opts back in. Isn't going to be able to get that trade. That one goes in favour of Rin. Messy stuff in the bottom lane.
1-for-1 trade on both instances. Decap goes down, Giyu goes down, but it's Kevo finding one of the kills. It's Nyla finding the other. And on the flip side, Rin picks up both of them for GK. This AD carry for the Arabian League is going to be unleashed as we get through to the mid game. Now we're going to get to that point where we start augmenting our lane assignments. We're getting into the little bit of the messy stage of League where different teams have different ideas of when the mid game begins, when we can start putting our AD carries into the mid section of the map, when we start putting our side laners to start side laning. Blade of the Ruin King finished for Giyu. His 1v1 capabilities are fully online. Not quite finished up with those Merc Treads just yet, but when we do, means that Clyde, Taxa, Erol are all going to have a more difficult time trying to lock down the very slippery, very mobile mid lane assassin.
Yeah, and that's when these key abilities like the Explosive Cast and the Emperor's Divide can come into play. Because if you can disrupt and displace Giyu, get him away from a Q reset, the Aurelia is pretty easy to take down, but if he's able to play with multiple stacks of that ability, dashing around in the team fights, then he can take over. Ooh, very, very close to getting a stun onto Reron. You see how aggressive he loves to play.
Yeah, and just one support there means that, you know, on Verdant's side, that you're safe. But for GK's side, the fact that Decap is there, it means that Giyu's happy to try and take these, quote, 1 versus 2, 1v3 situations, knowing that the Nautilus can come in to support. But that sort of pressure that we saw from Verdant on the bot side has been alleviated. They move it, they shift it up to the top lane. Started up this Herald. It's not one that they're going to be able to collapse on, because if we look at the minimap, Rin is here. He has that Gale Force finished, 3-0 on the Xayah, very farmed on the AD carry, and instead of being able to, you know, push them off of the Herald fight, which they've already done, they're actually looking into this mid-tier 1 turret. The pressure and the priorities from Verdant are a little bit misplaced, and they're not quite making out the most on the map.
Yeah, and the thing is, normally you're in situations where you're trading these towers, like one team will get a tower in the mid lane, but you can go, it's fine, our AD carry got all of that gold, all that time, all of that bonuses from being bot lane by herself. But Rin got that first tower mid lane solo. He's massively accelerated on the Xayah.
And you said first turret for a reason, Middlecop, because remember, that has bonus gold built into it these days. And the fact that it's in the mid lane as well just makes it even worse for Verdant's map state as a whole. Mid lane tier 1 notoriously the best turret to try and take down because it allows you access into the top side jungle, the bot side jungle, and make all of these moves into the mid game with a lot of extra vision.
Absolutely. But I think for Verdant, right, they're not completely out of the game. The gold lead that GK acquired for themselves very, very early on into this game hasn't grown by too much. It really is those objectives where they have been finding the sort of extension of that.
We're just having a couple of tech issues on our side, I will say. We've not quite got a feed that we can see. I've still got Viking killing the blue buff on my side, Middlecart, so we'll hope for that to return. So apologies if we are a little behind the call on that. But I think that the fact that we see Verdant looking to make these proactive plays is something that we've not necessarily been missing from them through playoffs, but they are acknowledging what they can do to make the best of bad situations.
Well, at the moment, they're engaging onto Decap, and this is looking like a bad situation for them because their support's gone down. Okay, 1-for-1 trade, but once again, it's GK that have got the shove in the mid lane. Verdant very keen on picking up this next Drake and stopping the stacking.
Smart call. Remember, we already acknowledged that the Mountain Drake is going to be great for those frontliners, but it also makes the job of the divers from Verdant a lot more difficult as well. That extra 300, 400 health that you get from a Mountain Soul does make a difference in the skirmishes that you're going to find through the late stages of the game. GK, though, not just with mid lane priority, they're able to push in, take the Rift Herald as well. Now they can use this Herald to buy priority in the mid lane if they want to, and set up for this dragon. The fact that it's still 3 seconds away from spawning, it's great that Verdant got pressure for the one wave in mid lane that they moved into the river, but it wasn't the right one.
Yeah, and now they're actually going topside, going, we're not going to contest this Drake at all, try and shut down this Rift Herald that is looking very likely like it's going to take our tier 1 in top lane and try and get something back on the map. Now, I like it if you think that you can't take that fight, you go and get something else, but you're still having the game dictated to you, and you're still losing your top lane tower.
And importantly, you're only 5 minutes now away from a fight that you are forced to take, unless you're happy to sack a Mountain Soul in potentially exchange for a Baron attempt. But you have to take this fight in 5 minutes. Teams don't frequently just give away souls.
Okay. E-Roll nearly gave up his in the mid lane, and that's going to give GK the opportunity to take down this tower. Not unless Taxo has something to say about it, although he's being shut up very, very quickly.
Ignite.
The body slam away will not be enough as Kevo finds himself presented with the entirety of GK. Verdant, though, going for a flank. Clyde getting the knock up, but Rin is able to feathers fly away. Decap is isolated and should be going down, but Kevo is going absolutely insane onto everybody else. A shutdown for Verdant's AD carry, a kill for their mid laner, but here comes Gyu. He's been charmed and knocked up, and Kevo's able to get away. Okay, Verdant are turning this game around.
Really good fighting from Verdant there. Clyde saving his AD carry. Kevo being aggressive in the dive forward on this Zeri. Goes into the face of 3 people, gets stunned up, but the support is there. The charm, the knock-up from Clyde buys enough time for the E to reset for Kevo to buy space to get away, and he's the one who's able to take down Gyu. Not quite able to find that big earlier mid-game team fight that she's known for, and Verdant, on the collapse, get themselves 3 kills and a turret.
And what were we saying? The lead that GK had built for themselves in this early game was translating into objectives. They weren't getting loads more kills. They weren't building that gold lead up to a higher power level. They were saying, do you know what? Verdant, we know you're not going to fight us. That's fine. We're going to get this soul in a few minutes' time, and we're going to be super powerful. That hasn't happened.
We're now in a really exciting stage for Verdant because notoriously, as a team, they have been E-Roll and Nilla are their carries. Now we've got this position where we still expect them to be carries, but Kevo has got 4 out of the 7 team's kills, has got 2 items on the Zeri, and is very much in a position to be that tertiary pickup that we're hoping for Verdant. That one potentially lacking point of the squad is actually in a very accelerated position and can do a lot of work.
Potentially one of the few champions that is going to be able to kite away from Gyu on the Irelia, right? That's what makes the Zeri such an impressive pick in pro play, is just its ability to keep maintaining this distance to deal safe damage. And GK are going to need to respect that distance, otherwise they could get punished again.
And that is just going to be a part of the Zeri for this entire game. It's not just the Irelia either. everybody on GK is fairly low mid-range, right? There's 4 melees and a Xayah. Xayah's base auto-attack range is fairly low for an AD carry. Lethal Tempo is going to aid that somewhat, but Zeri will outrange that tethering that you love to see from AD carries if you're just playing on the edge of your range where the enemy ADC isn't quite in range to hit you back. Is exactly what we need to see from Kevo this game, and you've got the tools to do it. You have that Zeri, as you'd mentioned. 2 minutes until that Drake fight, and that is going to be the time to shine.
Oh, Kevo popping the lightning crash, actually engaging himself. Not able to find too much.
I really like this, though. This is what I love to see from teams just in general. We got to see a lot in Season 12 when things like Leona were played, but trying to force cooldowns on a window before a big fight. That is the last time where Kevo can use Lightning Crash, before this Drake fight. He's got 2 minutes on the cooldown, 2 minutes before the Drake spawns. Why not go fishing? See if you can find a pick, generate that extra advantage if you can.
And hey, if it turns out that in 80 seconds time Rin is really wishing that he had a heal, then it's going to be a worthwhile play. But that's still something that Verdant need to consider. No matter how good that fight was, going down a mountain stall is still something that you really don't want to happen.
Cheeky little attempt on Baron. It looked like from GK, Rin takes about 20% of his health bar. It's not the most significant thing. But we've got to look at the items now for the Verdant side. 2 stopwatches already picked up. Those are not matched by the GK team. And once again, with Verdant in a bad position.
40 seconds until the Mountain Soul. Baron is available, and heck, with how accelerated these AD carries have become, with the mid laners that both teams have chosen, those Barons are going to drop very quickly if you can find a pick, if you can find a moment.
How the tides have turned as well. Just in the last 5 minutes, Verdant now the ones that are able to push forward and control the wave in mid lane. It gives them first purchase into the river, and you can see now with this nice vision toggle that it's just blue wards on the edges of the river that GK are seeing into this pit with. Now, of course, we're at this position where GK could very easily look to potentially take a Baron from this. They've got 3 Drakes. They're not ones that are pressed to deal with this Drake right now. Yes, it'd be nice to get a soul, but if it's going to be game-defining for them to lose this fight, they can quite happily let the Drake go down and now move topside.
I think that's why you see what you're seeing here. E-roll and Taxa doing the Drake themselves. They're actually just going to completely abandon it. Go, do you know what? We don't care about this. We need to contest the Baron teleport. Going to be coming through from E-roll on the backside. Has the shuffle, can make a play. Kevo, very far forward, going to get hit by absolutely everything. But the Zeri persisting, surviving, dealing damage. Gyu is dead. And Verdant are playing around the Baron. Rin is still full HP. Kevo is emphatically not. Nile just about dashing back. Mid laners off the board. Everybody else still fighting.
Yeah, now it's going to be that fight for the dragon. Early recalls coming through. Nyla has got teleport. He can come to this fight with a lot of HP, but no Dominus. Means that he's a little less scary. Importantly, Rin stayed alive that entire fight, wasn't really under threat. Now Verdant, they've started up this Drake. They've got vision for a TP from Nyla. There's a flank ward on the bot side of mid. Here they go.
Viking diving forward, but that flank TP is going to force GK into a not too bad spot. Decap burn the flash to get away, and now here comes Sartorius. We're still missing a heck of a lot of ultimates.
Now the mid laner has TP, they're going to have to walk the long way. This is a 4v4 for 20-30 seconds. GK are the ones in the pit now. They've started this up and Verdant need to get in.
Nile forcing them forward, desperately attempting to find access. 3,000 HP. They're going to get hook onto Taxa and claim the Mountain Soul. Sartorius will pay for it with his own blood, but Rin once again untouched and able to deal damage. Here comes E-roll, though, as the support from GK has been knocked off the board. A knock up from Cly onto Rin as it's a double for Kevo. Verdant lose the Drake, but they get 3 kills.
And they're going to have to go Baron here. To make this in any way worthwhile, they have to head over toward the Purple Worm, but they don't have the smite. It's impossible.
Hero with the shuffle stun onto Gyu, but he's going to get the Q forward. It's fine for GK. They get the kill back and they delay Verdant's move towards the big Purple Worm.
They get Kevo's ult as well. Now that's another 90 seconds where Zeri's not really going to be able to fight. Any notion of then heading up toward the Baron is now completely off the table. That turn capability completely removed without having that Zeri ulti. Yes, she's still powerful, but she is, I would say, 60% of a carry without having that ult available. Really close team fights here, back and forth, scrappy affair. But GK, with those earlier dragons, the early priority they laid down on those objectives, come up with the win in the end. Yes, they're 1,000 gold down. That is way too small an advantage for us to say this Mountain Soul is not bigger.
And you think, hey, if Gyu doesn't have that Mountain Soul, does he live long enough to kill E-Roll and prevent Verdant from doing the Baron? Sartorius, a little bit far up. He doesn't have the flash on the Rumble. Doesn't have a health bar either. Okay, top laner dead for 40 seconds. Verdant, what can they get from this?
Equalizer is such a huge tool around these objectives. You can cut off entire sections of a pit if you have it available. But with Sartorius dead, it most likely means that Nyla, Verdant, the rest of the NLC region can turn their attentions to the Baron.
25 minutes in, this game very well poised. Verdant with the gold lead, but the Mountain Soul for Geekay is going to give them a heck of a lot of value. Still, 10 seconds until Sartorius is up. Okay. He's never going to be able to join this fight. Geekay still opting to contest, though. Only a single knock-up there from Clive. It's on to Decap, and Gyu is fine in the backline. Okay, the Nautilus is dead, but Nile is as well, and in a 5v4, Verdant are losing around the river. Oh my god! What a pullback from Rin. He's going to have to go into the skies to prevent him from dying. It doesn't matter, though. A double kill for the Xayah, Kevo, and E-Roll running for the hills.
Rule number 1 of League is don't chase Singed, but rule number 2 is don't chase a Xayah. Those feathers turn the game round on its head. Verdant were happy to take the turn there. They had the advantage, and yes, the trade wasn't favourable for them, but they got another fight that they were going to look to take. All until Rin turns it back around. Featherstorm to keep himself alive, pushes back through mid lane, takes a tier 2 turret to rub salt in the wounds of Verdant as the Baron falls as well.
And it has been a tale of the AD carries in this game. Kevo still hasn't died, but Rin a little bit more clutch in that scenario and has put GK to a position where they should be taking game 1.
And the timing on this Baron could not be better for GK either. If they just play through mid lane, play through bot lane, I want to see a 2-lane approach to this, because if we look at when their Baron timer is going to end, it syncs up within about 5 seconds of when that Elder Dragon spawns. GK, if they push through that mid lane and that bot lane, control the vision in the bot side river, choke Verdant out, and make sure that they have to face check for every single ward in their own jungle, means that that Elder fight is going to be that much harder to get into position for, let alone to take.
Yeah, man, I don't know if I want to be face checking versus a Sejuani or versus an Irelia. That sounds fundamentally unpleasant, and GK not only trying to push down these structures, but also just denying a few of the jungle camps away from Verdant just to be like that. Gyu does have the teleport, so can join his team if they should need it, but Verdant may be able to find an opportunity for an engage around this bot side push.
What we saw from them earlier on was a great flank teleport from E-Roll to stop the first Baron notion that GK went for. Verdant don't have those same deep wards, those same tools to find advantages, and actually GK are quite happy to play this 4 versus 5 for the time being on the notion that they've got TP on Gyu ready. He can come straight into the lane onto these minions, can go into the jungle as well if Verdant overextend a little too much. So Verdant, they have to play this wave clear style, but for the time being, GK don't mind because they can wait for Gyu to get prior in that top side, and they're going to look to take that tier 2 turret, and at the minute he's uncontested. Now you see E-Roll shifting up as well, Nyla as well looking to try and make a 2 versus 1 play if they can, and it's also giving a lot of time to the Irelia to take this turret.
And it's the sort of back and forth, right? It's the applying of pressure in one place and then the losing of it in another, as E-Roll and Nile roam away from bottom lane, so Clyde, Tax and Kevo find themselves unable to defend the tower, and GK are going to be able to take it down. They might look for a little bit more of that Rin going wide. Rin in the middle of absolutely everybody. He's fine though, Xayah somehow still alive. Clyde the only casualty of that engagement before Nile shuts down the Bird Lady. Gyu on the front side misses his ultimate, and the Renekton persisting for as long as he may. Sartorius has been taken down by E-Roll, and now the Azir, now the Zeri are freed up to dish out damage. Kevo's going to be able to skate forward. Gyu has nowhere to go, no minion wave to dash through, and it's a shutdown for the Azir.
Timers, look at the middle cut, 25 seconds on Elder Drake, and the death timers sync up just well enough for Verdant to be able to get back to base and back out onto the map in time to start up this Elder. How fast can they burn the dragon down? How much DPS do they have in the tank? Because Gyu, Rin, Sartorius have all got to walk from the base to get to this Elder in time. Taxa is there and Viking is alive, so there's a smite fight potential, but with him heading up to those top side, heading up to those camps, Verdant have done enough. The Elder Dragon goes to Verdant.
4 Drakes this game have favoured GK, but the most important one, the Elder, is falling in favor of Verdant, and in game one of this series, we have been treated to more spectacle than I could have imagined.
We are 30 minutes in and the gold lead is separated by 200 gold. Yes, there are objectives either side, but if that doesn't demonstrate to you quite how closely matched these teams have been through game number one, then I don't quite know what is going to do it for you. Verdant's chance now is pure fighting. The Elder Drake, much better than a Mountain Soul, and that gives Verdant all of the tools that they're going to need to try and take these fights. Worth mentioning again that they took that fight when they didn't have the Elder Dragon, when GK did have the Mountain Soul, and Verdant still came out on top.
Yeah, their ability to fight in these later game stages has been what carried them, really, to that final within the NLC, and it is coming up to them in game one of this series. Reminder, loser here, they get match point, but nothing more. They still need to do it one more time. With the Elder, for the next little bit of time, you'd have to feel the team gaining that advantage out of game one is going to be Verdant, but I don't know, man. This game has swung on a dime back and forth.
They've got to use this Elder first, and you can see that the Xayah, the Rumble, actually do provide a fair amount of wave clear. You don't mind equalizing one wave if it stops Verdant from being able to use this Elder to force a fight. It's difficult for them to get under a turret as well. They're using Nyla in the bot side, so they don't care too much about this mid-tier 2. They're opting into priority in the bot side instead. But GK standing stalwart around this tier 2 turret. They're not going to be assuaged to head into the bot lane. They know if they're trying to take a fight, then they're trying to lose the game.
Yeah, and it's the intriguing thing. Both teams have now gotten some of these big late game buffs, but they still haven't really been able to break into the base, and that just gives credence to this idea that we're talking about. Both teams actually know what they're doing and have been able to mount a strong defense. It's going to be hard, though, to match Kevo's Clive. Go for an engage under the tower. Not back onto one from that explosive cast as Gyu is 40% HP. He's burning down for the Elder. Clive very low as well, and actually Rin
Gyu might die.
Going to be able to get the first kill of this fight, and Gyu is still alive just about. Okay, Kevo going for a solo play onto Rin, but he's not going to be able to do it! Shut down for GK's AD carry, and that is going to stop Verdant in their tracks.
Once again, Middlecott, look at the time as Clive falls, Kevo falls, Baron spawns in 20 seconds. Verdant could have played it safe, they could have played it smarter. Kevo saw the highlight in his eyes, 808 on the Zeri, thought with an Elder Drake, I can do this, but Rin, wiser, better in the 1 versus 1, and now GK have got all of the advantages back in their favour.
Mountain Drake, baby, this is what we are talking about. It's so pivotal in these small interactions that can decide a game. And with the Zeri still dead for 15 minutes, GK absolutely clear to start up the Baron.
Taxa, he was known for this in the NLC. Weeks 1, 2, and 3 found Miracle Smite after Miracle Smite. GK cannot afford to let this be a 50-50. They're channeling Hex Flash. They need to get over and stop this Gragas from getting in.
He's waiting on the body slam. Nilla is going to go into the pit. Here comes Taxa! Not going to be able to take it. Fails the flash out of the pit, and Viking happy to claim that objective. That will be it. Rude Dude with a double kill for Rin. GK look to take game one.
They can push. They've got 50 seconds on Nyla still, 40 seconds on the Gragas with the Baron at their back as well. It's going to be difficult. I think seeding Inhibitor has to be the play for Verdant, and then try and take a fight under your Nexus turrets. Clyde still got ult, Kevo still has ult. This Zeri is very, very scary. 4.5 items, nearly full build. But GK with this Baron, they're going to feel confident to do more than just this Inhibitor's worth of damage.
At just under 34 minutes in, the first inhibitor tower of the game, of the series, is going to fall. GK look to end game one very rapidly. Oh my word! Disgusting amounts of damage to end game one. GK coming out victorious to start off the series.
Woo! Okay, that was the closest fight, or that was the least one-sided fight, rather.